Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're tackling something I know a lot of us watching Formula One have been thinking about. Why does it sometimes feel so, well, difficult for cars to actually overtake each other?
Yeah, it's a persistent question, isn't it? Especially after certain races.
Exactly, and you sent in a transcript from a great video by F1 Blogs on their YouTube channel. They really dig into this, using the Suzuka race as a case study.
Suzuka. A classic track, but often not an overtaking haven.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack why overtaking can be such a challenge in modern F1, look at what F1 Blogs highlighted about Suzuka specifically, and explored some of the maybe potential fixes they talk about.
Sounds good. The F1 Blogs analysis definitely gives us a lot to chew on. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Definitely. Okay, so the F1 Blogs material points to a few main culprits. Let's get into those. First up, they really emphasize the current car's reliance on DRS.
The drag reduction system, yeah. That rear wing flap opening up on the straights.
Exactly. But F1 Blogs points out it's only really effective when you've got long straights leading into, like, heavy braking zones.
And Suzuka doesn't quite fit that mold perfectly, does it?
Not really. It's got those incredibly fast-flowing corners feeding onto the straights, so you don't get those really hard braking moments right after the DRS zone where a driver can properly make a move stick.
That's a key point they make. Even with DRS open wide down Suzuka's main straight, the braking required for turn one isn't quite severe enough to consistently seal the deal on an overtake. The advantage kind of evaporates.
So the DRS gives you the speed boost, but you need that braking zone to actually finish the job.
Precisely. You need to outbrake them or get a better line, and if the corner's super fast, that opportunity just isn't always there.
Yep.
Suzuka tests the driver, but maybe not in a way that helps DRS overtakes.
Okay, makes sense. And then F1 Blogs also talks a lot about dirty air.
Ah, yes. The turbulent weight coming off the car in front, the age-old enemy of close racing.
Yeah, and they remind us on their channel this has always been a factor, but, well, they stress how much it affects even smaller cars like Formula Renault Regional, Frica.
Right. They mentioned Frica needing something like a 3-second speed difference just to overtake without artificial help like push to pass or DRS.
3 seconds, that's huge.
Right.
It really highlights the problem. And the video makes this quite stark point, saying the current cars are basically 2025 cars on a 1990s circuit.
I like that analogy. These cars are engineering marvels on their own, incredible aero grip.
Yeah, in clean air.
Exactly. But that makes them hypersensitive. Get close behind someone, hit that disturbed air, and you lose so much downforce, so much grip. Following closely enough to even think about a pass becomes incredibly hard.
Which is a bit of a shame because, as F1 Blogs also mentions, drivers adore Suzuka.
Oh, absolutely. They talk about corners like 130R flat out, even in the wet, apparently. And the unique challenge of turn one, it's legendary.
But, and this is the crucial bit F1 Blogs stresses, a fantastic circuit for drivers doesn't automatically equal thrilling racing with lots of overtakes for us watching at home.
That's the distinction, isn't it? A driver's challenge versus a spectator's excitement. Suzuka's flow rewards precision and commitment, but it can also spread the field out, minimizing those close battles outside the specific DRS zones.
Okay, so the track layout, the DRS limitations, the dirty air. It all adds up. So naturally, the F1 Blogs video then moves on to potential solutions, though they admit some are maybe a bit unpopular.
Right. They start throwing some interesting ideas around, things to shake it up.
Yeah, like one really radical one is fuel limitation.
Fuel limits? How would that work?
Well, they draw a parallel with Formula E, where overtaking often happens before braking because drivers use lift and coast to save energy.
Oh, lifting off the throttle early.
Exactly. So the idea is, what if F1 cars at a track like Suzuka were given, say, significantly less fuel than needed to run flat out the whole race?
Okay, so they'd have to lift and coast.
Yeah, before the fast corners. And this, F1 Blog suggests, could create opportunities. Maybe the car behind managed its fuel differently, conserved a bit more here or there.
And could then close up and maybe even pass before the corner entry while the car ahead is saving fuel.
That's the theory. But, as the video acknowledges, F1 purists might not love it. Drivers definitely want to push flat out all the time.
It's disruptive, for sure. Introducing that kind of energy management, it could add strategic variability, drivers making choices, push or conserve.
But does it change F1 too much? Away from just pure speed? That's the question they raise.
It's a fundamental question. Is that trade-off potentially more overtaking for less flat-out running worthwhile? Interesting thought experiment.
Then there's another idea. Maybe less radical, but still a bit artificial, as they put it. Messing with the tire compounds.
The tires. Always a factor. What's
Yeah.
the suggestion there?
Mandating less optimal compounds. So if the normal choices for Suzuka are, I don't know, C3 and C4.
Force them onto much softer ones, like C5 maybe.
Something like that, yeah. The idea is it would likely cause much higher tire degradation.
Okay, so more strategic variation. Some drivers nurse the tires, others push and pit earlier.
Exactly. It could mean drivers who manage their tires better gain a lot later on, maybe pull off overtakes that way. F1 Blogs notes it's artificial, like DRS, but could lead to more unpredictable races.
You might even see someone win from further back, maybe catching a lucky safety car timing with fresh rubber.
Potentially. But F1 Blogs also brings up Pirelli's side. They might be reluctant, right, to deliberately provide tires seen as, well, unreliable or fragile.
Yeah, they had that difficult period early on, didn't they? Tires with massive performance cliffs designed to spice things up. They got a lot of criticism.
Right. Apparently, Pirelli pushed back to get more control over choices to protect their reputation. So there's a balance there.
There really is. You want strategic options, but you need robust, safe tires. Pushing degradation too far for artificial excitement is risky, as Pirelli learned.
Fair enough. Okay, then F1 Blogs throws out what they call a crazy idea.
Ooh, okay, let's hear the crazy idea.
Make the cars smaller. And, crucially, less dependent on aerodynamics.
Tackling the root cause, maybe.
That's the argument. The speaker in the video actually says, quote, "Aerodynamics is the greatest enemy of car racing." Strong words.
Wow, why? What's the reasoning?
Well, as we discussed, the massive aero grip makes them super sensitive to dirty air, hindering overtaking. Plus, they argue, it makes the cars fragile. Minor contact can cause big aero damage. Race over.
I see. So smaller cars would mean less downforce naturally, less affected by the wake.
That's the idea, potentially allowing much closer racing. And physically smaller cars would effectively make the track wider, opening up more lines.
That's a fundamental shift, not just tweaking, but rethinking the whole car concept. More of a long-term vision, I guess.
Yeah, they present it that way. Maybe something for future regulations.
Yeah.
And they briefly touch on the 2026 regs, too.
With the new power units.
Right. Suggesting that energy management from the battery side, deploying that electrical boost strategically, will become a key factor in overtaking.
So even without smaller cars immediately, the way drivers manage and deploy that limited, powerful electrical boost could create its own overtaking dynamic.
That seems to be the hope. Strategic use of energy creating differences on the straights.
It feels like a move towards more tactical racing, whether through fuel, tires, or energy deployment. Less purely about the ultimate lap time and clean air.
So wrapping up this deep dive, looking at the F1 Blogs analysis from their YouTube channel, it's clear the overtaking difficulty, especially somewhere like Suzuka, isn't down to one single thing.
No, it's a combination, isn't it? The way DRS works and its track dependency, the huge impact of dirty air from these complex aero cars, and just the fundamental design philosophy.
And the potential solutions F1 Blogs explored: fuel limits, different tire mandates, even the bigger idea of smaller, less aero-focused cars potentially influenced by the 2026 power units. They all have pros and cons. Nothing simple.
Absolutely not. It's a really tangled web. The aero design affects dirty air, which affects overtaking, which makes DRS more critical, which then depends heavily on the circuit layout. It's all connected.
Yeah, the F1 Blogs analysis really lays that out well. What stands out most to you from those potential solutions they discussed?
That's a tough one. The fuel-saving idea is intriguing because it adds a completely different layer of strategy, like we see in Formula E. But would it feel like real F1? That's debatable.
What about the tires? More degradation for more unpredictability.
It could make races more jumbled, which can be exciting, but you risk it feeling too artificial or, worse, unsafe if tires fail dramatically. It's that fine line again.
And the big one, smaller, less aero-dependent cars.
That feels like the most fundamental shift. It could potentially get back to more pure wheel-to-wheel racing, less reliant on gimmicks, but it's a massive change, a huge technical challenge. And would it definitely work? Who knows? The 2026 energy deployment aspect might be a more immediate factor to watch.
It really gives us a lot to think about, doesn't it? This F1 Blogs analysis highlights that constant tension in F1 between pushing technology to the absolute limit and ensuring we still get exciting on-track action.
It certainly does. It's the core challenge the sport always faces. How do you balance innovation with the spectacle?
Definitely recommend checking out the F1 Blogs YouTube channel for the original video on this and just their F1 analysis in general. Really good stuff for fans wanting to go deeper.
Agreed. They offer some solid insights.
And yeah, give the F1 Blogs channel a subscribe if you enjoy that kind of deep F1 content. It's worth keeping up with their takes. But thinking about these potential changes, it really makes you consider what the future of F1 racing might look like, or maybe what we want it to look like.
Exactly. It's an ongoing evolution, and discussions sparked by analysis like the one from F1 Blogs are crucial for figuring out that future direction. It'll be fascinating to see which path F1 chooses in the coming years.